All right, getting going. Welcome, everybody, and welcome to another day of queer yoga. It's wonderful to have you all here on the mat. I'd like to invite you all to take the first few minutes here just to find yourself into a comfortable position, preferably on your back if that's comfortable. But if you'd like to stay seated for the beginning here, you're more than welcome to. Wonderful. So finding a position that is supportive for your back body today as you find your way down there. Taking a moment to land and start to release into the floor, into the mat. And you can either be lying with your legs extended if that's comfortable for you in Shavasana, corpse pose, or if that's at all a strain on your lower back, then please just bend your knees, place your feet on the floor. You can rest your knees together in what we like to call a constructive rest position. Taking these first few minutes just to land and begin to sink into your rhythm of breath today. Arriving on the mat from our busy days, all of the going-ons of the world, turning inward can take a few moments, or minutes, or hours. So take your time, just watching your breath, flowing in and out past your nose or mouth. Feel the support of the floor underneath your body and begin to journey into the process of letting go. Letting go of the stresses in your day that you've arrived with, letting go of muscular tension that you can sense in your body. Just seeing what we can surrender to in this moment as we find ourselves settling into some stillness. And as we settle into our breath here, I invite you to begin to slowly expand your breath, little by little, inviting a little bit more air in on your inhalation and exhaling a little bit more completely. Inhaling and exhaling at your own pace as you begin to explore a fuller, deeper breath. And you can invite that air deep into your bellies and invite it to travel up through the chest towards the collar and the back of your throat. And exhale from the top down. First the collar, then your chest, finally the abdomen. Breathing in from the bottom up and exhaling from the top down. Visualizing your lungs like a pitcher of water that you're filling from the bottom to the top and pouring it out from the top down. Once again, there's no need to struggle against the breath here, just moving towards the fullest, deepest breaths that you can enjoy breathing into your body today. When you find yourself breathing at your natural maximum capacity for breath, I invite you to draw your awareness into the space at the end of an exhalation before you begin to inhale. Just noticing where your attention goes in that moment where contraction turns to expansion. And similarly, noticing where your attention goes at the top of your breath when you arrive at the top of your inhalation. It's following your breath from the bottom to the top, minding the gap, and following your breath from the top to the bottom, And once again, minding the gap. Continuing with this pattern of breath. And if it feels comfortable for you today, I invite you to add one more layer into this pattern of breath here as we inhale and exhale and watch that gap. I invite you to begin to draw out the pause as you arrive at the end of your exhalation, accentuating that pause and any internal sensations that you might be drawn towards, any contraction of the abdomen or lifting up of your pelvic floor. Just noticing what natural movements your body tends towards at the end of that exhalation and accentuating them. And releasing as you inhale, pausing at the top and exhaling, minding the gap. Breathing in this sort of square pattern of breath. And today it might be a bit of a rectangle or in quadrilateral shape, something with 4 different lengths of sides. So just watching it without any judgment today. Just exploring where our breath naturally wants to move. Let's enjoy one more full round of breath in this pattern. And then release control of your breath once more. And return to a sensation of just surrendering to the natural expansion and contraction of your breath. Inhaling and exhaling at your own pace, getting out of the way and letting your body be breathed. And as your breath settles back into its natural rhythm of breath here, I invite you to set an intention for your practice today. Whatever that may be, something for yourself, something for the world, allowing that thought form itself in your mind's eye, knowing there's no right or wrong intention for you today, just whatever you choose to dedicate the merits of your practice to. Holding that image, word, phrase, or energy in your mind's eye. If you haven't done so already, let's bend the legs at the knees, place your feet on the floor, let those knees rest together. When you're ready to exhale next, let's let the head fall over to the right hand side. Right or left, go ahead, start with whichever direction you'd like to, no worries. Inhaling through center, nose and chin coming through center, and then exhaling over to the other side. Beginning to follow your pattern of breath here as you inhale through center and exhale to release down to the other side. I invite you to draw your awareness in this gentle motion towards where the movement is initiating from. And I invite you to try and see if we can allow the head to fall from side to side without any active, willful pushing or rolling. Just allowing the head to fall as far as it wants to fall in either direction. So we begin to tune into the sensation of releasing and letting go rather than a placing of your head from side to side. And as you flow from side to side here, feeling free to pause anywhere you're drawn to pause along this journey. If you need to take a breath in the center or when the head is down to either side, just listening to your body as we go here. If there's anything that I'm inviting you to explore that doesn't feel right in your body, always listening to your body and trusting that something doesn't feel quite right. There's no need to move into that sensation. And the next time your nose inhales through center, let's walk the hands out from the body to a 45-degree angle. And as you exhale, allow the head to fall over to the side and the knees to fall over in opposition. So head falling down to one side, knees falling down to the other side. And then inhaling everything through center and over to the other side. Once again, beginning to flow with your rhythm of breath from side to side. Head and knees falling in opposition. Noticing if you have any tendencies to hold your feet in a certain place or hold your knees together, I invite you to once again move into that sensation of surrender, letting go, just releasing the body from side to side. And we actively inhale through center and exhale over to the other side. Beautiful work. Making this feel juicy and good for you today. You might need some breath involved there. Making a little bit of sound can help us release some of the tension and holding along our spine here. We're going to continue to flow from side to side for a few more rounds of breath. And I invite you to continue flowing from side to side as long as you need to. If you find you've got a few more kinks to work out rolling around here. Otherwise, the next time that you finish off a round here, let's take a moment to inhale everything into center and hug the knees into our chests, one knee at a time, gently finding a little bit of compression into our abdomen here. If you've just eaten a meal or your tummy is sensitive at all today, feel free to make this a very light compression or take the knees wide so that we're not pressing into a full belly or causing any discomfort there. And if it feels nice to draw the knees in a little bit of a circle in one direction or the other, or maybe knees moving in opposition, different circles, just beginning to explore a little bit of motion into your hips and low back, seeing what feels good, what feels like a bit of a release. And then when you're ready, let's place one foot on the floor and the other. And then gently find our way onto the side and curl up on your side body for a few breaths. Let's just pause here. Take a moment to start breathing into the back body again. After all this lying on the floor, it's going to take a moment just to begin to expand into the muscles between our rib cage, the intercostal muscles. Just pausing here. And we're going to eventually find our way onto our hands and knees. And I encourage you to find your way up there with as little effort as possible. Maybe using the support of your upper hand, moving as slowly and gently as you need to find your way onto your hands and knees. All right. And from here, I'm going to join in. All right. If you'd like to keep your toes tucked in the back, go right ahead or extend them, whichever is most supportive for your balance. Today, we want to feel steady in this position here. When you're ready to inhale next, we're going to inhale to find length from our sternum down to our pubic bone. Inhaling, finding length in the front body, and exhaling, tucking the navel up towards the ceiling, looking back towards your belly button. And then when you're ready to inhale, once again, finding length in the front body. Beginning to flow back and forth with your rhythm of breath here. Inhaling and exhaling at your own pace. And if you're familiar with this cat-cow flow, begin to explore it as you'd like. Deepening these sensations, these undulations of the spine, however you're drawn to. Beginning to
explore some ranges of motion in our spine that we might not normally access in our day-to-day. Wherever you're going with this exploration, I encourage you to keep a long neck. What I mean by that is sometimes when we move into a spinal extension, our tendency is to crunch our neck back and we get those wrinkles at the back of our neck. And so I'm going to invite you whenever we're extending through the front body here, just to keep a nice long neck, slightly tucking our chin. Flowing back and forth, pausing anywhere you'd like to along this journey just to get a little bit of an extra stretch into any of these tight places. And then as we flow between cat and cow here, if you'd like to deepen this exploration, the next time you exhale into cat, let's sit the heels back down, or sit the seat down, back down towards your heels. Hard to sit your heels down, isn't it? But we can extend our buttocks down towards the heels, stretching out through our arms, and then looking forward to the hands. Let's draw our chest along the mat and finding our way up to cow. Nice long back of our neck here still. And then exhaling as we tuck the navel up towards the ceiling and sit back down towards your heels. Beginning to draw this large oval shape with the bottom of our rib cage as we flow through this exaggerated version of cat and cow. And if you'd like to add any other layers of dimension to this spinal exploration here, I invite you to do so. And what I mean by that is some exploration of movement in any direction. So perhaps the hips are inkling to move from side to side as we draw these circles. Changing that forward to backward circle to one that's more side to side. Or maybe it's a very three-dimensional shape, moving in all directions here. However, we're drawn to find some juicy places in our hips. Whichever direction you're flowing here, when your hips next come down towards your heels, let's reverse the direction. So I was going counterclockwise, now I'm going to start going clockwise here. And the key here is to just really explore into what feels good in your hips and your spine today. And we're going to take a few rounds in this other direction. And then we're going to gradually find our way back towards a neutral position. So let's take your time just making these circles slightly smaller each round until that circle becomes so small that it's just a tiny, tiny vibrating little point in the center. And from here, let's tuck our toes in the back and plant both hands underneath our shoulders as we lift the knees into a push-up position here. And let's take a moment just to get strong, pressing into the earth with both palms. And if it feels comfortable for you today, beginning to explore a little bit of a circle in one direction around your wrists here. And if this is too much for your wrists, there's a few options. One, we can bring the knees down to the mat, just lessen some of the pressure. Two, we can take fists instead of having the hands planted on the ground. So exploring whatever variation you need to support your wrists and upper body here. And whenever you're ready to exhale next, let's tuck the elbows in close by our sides and exhale everything down to the mat, releasing everything down into the mat and placing the cheek on the backs of one of your palms. Oh, feel the support of that floor, and let's just release the body into the mat for a moment. Breathing into your back body. Allowing the breath to naturally stretch out and expand your mid-back and lower back. And letting the breath soften. From here, let's take the forehead down to the mat and extending our arms out to the side in a T position, stretching out for a moment, and then walking the hands in until we're in the push-up position. But we're going to turn those fingertips in towards our shoulders. So the elbows are pointing directly out to the sides and our wrists are planted underneath our elbows. So you might need to walk your hands out a little bit to get to a 90-degree here. If this is at all uncomfortable on your shoulders or outside of your range of motion, you can either prop yourself up with a pillow underneath your chest, or you can bring your elbows in to the sides and do this in a narrow position. But if it feels good to keep your elbows wide here, on your next inhalation, let's inhale with the strength of our upper back here. We're going to look over our right shoulder and our left. Exhaling all of that down to the ground. Pausing for a breath in the middle. Inhaling and exhaling. And when you're ready to inhale next, let's inhale up. And look over the right shoulder and the left shoulder. And exhaling down. One more round. Inhaling up. Right shoulder, left shoulder, and exhaling down. We're going to pause for a breath here in the middle. And now we're going to reverse the relationship to the breath. So the next time you're ready to exhale is when we're going to lift. So inhaling to prepare, exhaling to lift, looking to the right and to the left, and then inhaling to lower. Exhaling to lift, looking to the right and to the left, and inhaling to lower. One more time, exhaling to lift, rooting the lower body into the mat, looking to each side, and inhaling to lower. This time, let's take the cheeks to the backs of our palms once again, and give our arms and upper body a break here, breathing into the mid and upper back. We're just going to pause for a couple of breaths here. And then we're going to return to these upper back exercises, which are helping to open up our chest and build a nice, strong posture. When you're ready, taking the forehead back down to the mat, rooting the fingertips out with the elbows winging out once again in this very wide push-up position, fingertips pointing in. And then before we inhale or exhale up here, let's take the right knee, invite the right knee up towards the right elbow. So we're entering a really kind of a lizardy position here. Sometimes this is called iguana. So with that right knee rooted into the mat, right knee and ankle rooted in there, let's inhale to prepare and exhale to lift. And looking over the right shoulder and the left, and inhaling to release. Two more times, exhaling to lift, looking to the right and to the left, and releasing down. Exhaling to lift, looking right, looking left, and releasing down. Let's extend the right leg all the way in the back. And let's take the palms underneath the cheek to rest once again. And if you'd like to switch cheeks, sometimes it's nice to give either side of your neck a chance to release in a passive twist here. But if you like to keep it on one cheek, that's allowed too. Whatever is best serving your body today. Pausing for a few breaths here, and then when you're ready, let's root the forehead down into the mat again, planting our hands out in a wide push-up position, fingertips in towards our shoulders, and then drawing the left knee up towards the left elbow, Rooting the left knee and the left ankle into the mat. We're going to explore this iguana on the other side. So when inhaling to prepare and exhaling to lift, looking over the left shoulder and the right, inhaling to release, exhaling to lift, looking left and right, inhaling to release. At your own pace, one more round. Exhaling to lift, looking left and right, and inhaling to release. Extending the left leg long in the back here, and taking a rest on your palms for a breath again here. Teaching our spinal muscles to turn on and off. We are really good in today's day and age at being strong and being engaged. And this is a challenge to teach our bodies to turn off on command, to relax on command. Toning our vagus nerve that helps control our parasympathetic nervous system. The antidote to our flight, fright, or flee response is that parasympathetic nervous system that allows our bodies to relax and renew the rest and digest system in our body. And when you're ready, let's take the palms underneath our shoulders and push our hips up and back down into a resting child here. And sitting in the seat back down towards the heels, stretching the hands out overhead, elbows lifted in this active variation of a resting child pose. Widening the scapula, rotating the scapula away from one another, and allowing a little bit of expansion into the shoulder joint here as we root both palms into the mat. When you're ready to look towards the fingertips, let's inhale, rising up to a tabletop position, and let's tuck the toes in the back and sit back and down towards the heels, peeling open the beds of our feet. Let's breathe into the soles of our feet there, using the support of our hands to offer a little bit of resistance back towards the heels. No need to move anywhere too deep here. If you find that this is at all uncomfortable, a nice modification is to tuck a pillow underneath your thighs, between your thighs and your calves there, offering a little bit more support as you lean back there. When you're ready to inhale next, let's return to that neutral position and lift one knee and the other into the air, back into this push-up position. And from here, let's take a big step forward with the left leg and root our right heel down into the mat. Right toes pointed out at a 45-degree angle. We're moving up to a warrior one. So take a moment to let yourself find a steady base, and only when you feel balanced and ready to rise up are we going to find our way up to a warrior one. Inhaling both arms up to the ears and a little bit of a stretch at the top here. And then if you'd like, allow the arms to come down to the heart center, pausing for a breath here. And then inhaling both arms up, we're going to fold forward, diving forward over that front knee, turning the toes up in the back and stepping back into a high push-up position. And from here, we're going to pause for a moment and take a big step forward with the opposite foot. I've got the right foot coming forward now, so whichever one you had last time, we're switching that up. Grounding the heel down in the back, toes pointed out at a 45-degree angle, finding that steady base, and eventually finding our way into a lifted position. Inhaling both arms up overhead, Finding length in our front body, sinking a little deeper. And then letting the hands float down to the heart for a moment, pausing for a breath here. And then inhaling the arms back up by the ears. Exhaling as we dive forward over top of both legs. One of the legs, I guess we're not diving over top of both. Stepping back. Let's exhale as we drop the knees wide and drop the pelvis down to the mat. Returning down to the front body here. Extending both legs long in the mat. Rooting the lower body into the mat. We're going to inhale both arms up overhead if this feels accessible for you today. If you need to shift around in your space to make sure you've got a little bit of room here to work, go right ahead and get yourself adjusted. When you're ready to inhale next, we're going to keep the forehead glued to the mat. And we're going to inhale the right arm and the left leg in opposition here. Inhaling right arm, left leg, imagining that the toes and the fingertips are being pulled by imaginary strings. And then exhaling to allow them to float back down. When you're ready to inhale next, inhaling opposite arm and leg. Finding expansion and length, making the stretch feel good. More important that we stretch out long here than it is that we stretch out high. So just allowing those imaginary strings to guide you in this exploration here, following your rhythm of breath. Inhaling to lift and exhaling to release. Flowing from side to side with your rhythm of breath. And when you next finish a round, let's take a pause, rest the cheek on the backs of our palms once more, and breathe into the middle back. And we're going to continue with this exploration. I'm going to find my way to a seated position so that I can speak a little more clearly to you in the camera there. Imagine it's a little tough to hear me talking into the mat. Pausing for a moment here, breathing into the back body. And then whenever you're ready to continue this exploration into the upper back, extending both arms overhead once again, rooting the forehead down on the mat, extending both legs long in the back. And when you're ready to inhale next, you can either continue with one arm, one leg, or if you'd like to invite both arms and both legs off the mat, allowing both of them to float up overhead and down below. Inhaling to lift, exhaling to lower. Flowing with your rhythm of breath here. And beginning to tune into that sensation of letting go in between our rounds here. So noticing the great strength and expansion that comes as you inhale. And then notice as you exhale, if you're still holding and if you're already ready to lift the next time, offering yourself the full surrender that between rounds here that you can, as full of a surrender, as just letting everything go down to the mat in between reps here. And if you need to pause for an extra breath in between rounds, go right ahead. What we're really doing right now is just trying to tone that response to be active and then to relax. Going ahead and exploring 2 more rounds of lifting and lowering with your rhythm of breath. And then we're going to pause for a breath with the cheeks resting, one of your cheeks resting on the back of your palms. Finding your way back into stillness, allowing the breath to expand through the back body, allowing some of that strengthening and expansive work to settle into your spine.
Noticing where your attention goes in these pauses. And if it's possible, just inviting your attention back to the breath time and time again. When you're ready to inhale next, let's draw the hands underneath our shoulders and find our way into a resting child once more. Moving nice and slow here, stretching out the upper back, upper body. And when you're ready, tucking the toes in the back, we're going to find our way into a downward facing dog. Taking whatever care you need to find your way into a supportive variation of downward dog today. Bending the knees as deeply as you need. And if this isn't all sore on your wrist, you can always take fists, or you can also come down to the forearms and turn this into a dolphin. Dolphin or puppy. Sometimes people call this one puppy here. Just hanging out in our downward dog for one or two more full rounds of breath here. And then when you're ready to inhale next, let's look to the hands. Take a big step forward. I'm going to go with the left foot first. And grounding the right heel down in the back, we're going to make our way up through Warrior One. Inhaling to lift. And then exhale, we're going to open up to the side of the room. Beautiful. And I'm all cut off here, so I'm going to lift this up a moment. There we go. All right. We're working in a tiny room here. We're doing the best we can. Let's push this back. There we go. All right. So finding ourselves moving into this Warrior One. The back toes are perpendicular to the mat now, and the front toes are pointing forward. Let's take a look at our back hand and see where it is in space, inviting it to move directly out from the shoulder joint. And then looking to the forward hand, those fingertips moving directly forward in that T position. Let's take a moment to roll both of our palms up to the sky and feel that expansion across our chest when we roll the arms open. And then looking to the back palm, let's keep the openness in our chest as we turn just palm down. If you can see this, my elbow is still pointing up inside of my elbow, but the hand turns down. So still nice and open across the chest, and then gazing out over the front palm and allowing the back hand to run down towards the leg, fall down towards the leg, and the front hand to float up towards the sky in an exalted warrior. Expanding and lifting through the sides of our rib cage here. And then allowing the front left arm to travel down. We're going to connect the left elbow with the left knee. Now there's a tendency when we move into this extended triangle, or not extended triangle. My names are not reaching me right now. Extended side angle, that's the word I was looking for. So there's a tendency to hang out and lean on this knee. So this front knee can be there for support, but what we really want to encourage is a nice strong torso that's keeping us up here. So if the elbow is connecting with the top of the knee there, just trying to put as little weight into it as possible. And then if it feels accessible, to inhale the right arm overhead and look up towards the right armpit or the right elbow. Let's find a nice long line of energy from the right heel all the way up to the right fingertips, stretching and growing long as we open the side body to the side wall here. And then when you're ready to exhale, let's take the hand back towards the back knee, inhaling both arms up to parallel, and then windmilling over the top, squaring the hips to the floor and stepping back. We're going to flow through a vinyasa here. So elbows in close to the sides as we come down to the mat. Let's release everything and extend the toes in the back. Inhaling with just the strength of your upper back. Exhaling
back down to the mat, tucking our toes and pushing up and back into a downward facing dog. Walking out your dog as you need. And when you're ready to inhale next, looking to the hands and stepping the right foot forward. Grounding the left heel down in the back at that 45-degree angle and inhaling up to warrior one once again. And sinking a little bit lower here. And then we're going to open up to the side of the room. I'm going to turn myself around so you can still see here. And we've got the left heel back, right heel forward. All right, awesome. I think, yeah, so we had the right foot forward, right? Yeah, that's right. All right, right foot forward, left foot back. When I spin myself around here, I get totally disoriented. The back toe is out at a 90-degree angle. Imagining that our hips are locked between two walls here, so they're in line with this long line of our mat. Sinking a little bit deeper, looking to the front fingers, wiggling our fingers, and then turning the gaze to the back, wiggling our fingers in the back, and rolling both palms open to the sky when you're ready. Let's look to the back palm and hold that openness in our chest as we turn the back wrist and palm down. And looking out over the front fingertips. And suck the sides of our ribs in. If you notice, sometimes we can begin to grow out through the chest here. Let's see if we can suck those ribs in, keeping a nice strong core as we allow the front arm to float up towards the sky. Looking to those fingertips, lifting out of our hips and rib cage. And then exhaling the right elbow down to the right knee. Once again, avoiding putting a lot of pressure or weight into that knee and really encouraging the lifting to come from our core here. And then taking the left arm overhead, we're going to find a nice long line of energy from the left heel up to the left fingertips. And looking to the left elbow or armpit, if that feels all right on your neck today. Otherwise, keeping the gaze down towards the floor or the side of the room. Remembering to breathe. When you're ready to inhale next, let's take that arm up overhead, drawing both arms up to a T position, and then windmilling overhead down to the mat. Extending both legs long, and then releasing everything down, knees, hips, and chest down to the mat. Extending the toes in the back, and taking the hands underneath one of your cheeks to rest the palm on the backs. Rest the cheek on the back of the palms. Tongue twisters here. Breathing into the back body. Softening after some of that engagement. Softening into your breath. And surrendering down to the mat. When you're next ready to inhale, let's plant the palms underneath your shoulders and lift the hips back into a resting child once more. Stretching out in the back, extending the arms long, and then looking to the hands when you're ready to find your way back up to that neutral position once again. And then lifting the knees as we find our hips up high and back into a downward facing dog. Walking that dog out for a few steps, maybe coming up high on your toes, allowing the pelvis to tilt a little bit further forward, and then allowing the heels to float back down towards the mat. Hanging out in this anything but static variation of downward facing dog. Notice yourself getting stuck and just hanging out in your down dog. Begin to explore a little bit of lengthening through your shoulders, limbering up your lower back, waving the hips from side to side, just avoiding this becoming static at any point. Continuing to explore that movement, walking out the heels as needed. When you're ready, let's look forward to the front hands and take a big step forward with the left heel. And we're going to explore a lunge position now. So we're going to keep the heel lifted in the back. Let's turn this camera down a little bit so everyone can see that a little better there. Awesome. So the left foot is forward, the back toes are rooted into the mat, back heel is lifted. And if you need to come down with the knee in the back here to explore these next few poses, go right ahead. There's no need to have the leg lifted. There's a little bit more work to have it lifted. So taking whichever variation serves you today. Finding our way to a lifted position once we found a steady base here. Supporting ourselves on the thigh and moving towards a lifted position. Let's inhale, both arms up for a gentle back bend, thumbs linking at the top, and then exhaling, both hands to the inside of the left knee. We're going to root the right palm directly underneath of our face and peel the left arm open to the sky here, looking to the fingertips in this revolved lunge. Revolved crescent lunge. Looking to those fingertips if it feels accessible in your neck. Otherwise, just allowing the head to hang or the gaze to look down towards your toes or the side of the room. When you're ready to exhale next, let's ground the left hand on the outside of that foot and take a big step back into the middle. We're going to pause for a moment and do a couple of circles around the wrist in both directions. 2 in each direction, or 3, whatever you're feeling today. And then we're going to take a big step forward with the right foot. We're going to explore this lunge position on this other side. So taking care to listen to your body. Perhaps one side wants to keep the knee down to the mat and the other side was lifted. There's no right or wrong way to explore this. It'd be really normal to have an asymmetrical body. So find your way into a lifted position in whichever variation you've chosen today. Linking the thumbs and expanding through the front body. And then exhaling the hands down to the inside of the right leg, lengthening out through the back heel, and then planting the left hand down to the inside of the right foot. We're going to peel the right arm open to the sky, look to those fingertips up at the ceiling if that feels accessible, or letting the head look down towards the toes. And if it feels like it's too much to hang out at the top, but you'd like to explore that range of motion, you can move your gaze between the top hand and the bottom hand. Just gently exploring that range of motion in your neck. Let's land the right hand down on the other side of the right foot and take a big step back and lift the hips high and back into downward facing dog. Walking the dog out once more. Expanding through both shoulders, and then let's ground the knees on the mat. Extend the toes in the back. Knees are wide, toes are together, and sit the buttocks down towards the heels. And this time when we land in this resting child, let's drop the elbows down to the mat and open the palms to the sky. Surrendering the body down into this resting child. And if this variation with the legs wide doesn't feel good on your body today, you can always take the knees narrow or place a pillow underneath of your chest to support your body. But if it feels good, to allow the body to begin to sink down between your legs and your knees, just softening with your breath as you are drawn to. When you're ready to inhale next, let's look towards the fingertips and lift ourselves up to that neutral position once more. And this time we're going to cross the heels in the back and sit back down onto our seat, extending one leg and the other. And we're first going to draw the left sole of the foot into the right thigh here. Let's root down through both of our sits bones, spine growing tall towards the ceiling, inhaling both arms and looking to the top, and then exhaling the hands down on either side of the extended leg. We'll begin to walk the chest forward and seeing what we can do to keep this first part of this forward fold in just the lower part of our back here. So it's really easy to round out and come forward over top of our leg as a first reaction when we move forward. We want to explore where we can take ourselves to with just our lower back. And this isolates this stretch more into the back of the extended leg and allows us to work on a little bit more of our active flexibility rather than our passive flexibility here. And peeling those toes back towards your forehead as we draw the chest forward. And as we hang out here, this can be a very active place to be. So beginning to tune in to a sensation of lengthening as we inhale and exhaling to fold a little bit deeper. Inhaling to grow taller, legs engaged, extended leg engaged, and exhaling to soften a little deeper. Either continuing to flow with this active variation, or if you'd like to begin to surrender the upper back and neck down to the leg here, feel free to just relax and surrender into this forward fold at this point. Breathing into your upper back, neck and shoulders, back of your extended leg. And walking the fingertips back towards our hips. Let's take the left knee out a little bit further. We're going to open up to the side of the room, and then taking the right hand to the left ankle, we're going to inhale the left arm overhead, shoulders down and away from our ears as we extend through the side body, then looking over towards the right toes. Both of our sits bones rooted into the mat here, growing taller and lifting out from both sides of our rib cage. Really looking to grow tall here rather than bend deeply. Expanding through both sides of the side body. And if you'd like to look up towards your elbow or down towards the extended leg, choosing whichever variation suits your neck today. And then when you're ready to inhale next, let's draw those fingertips all the way over to the back, turning ourselves back towards the extended leg. And let's extend both legs long, rooting our hands into the mat about a foot behind our hips. When you're ready to inhale next, inhaling hips up towards the ceiling, and exhaling, releasing. We're going to flow up and down for 5 breaths here. Inhaling to lift, and exhaling to lower. If you find this is at all stressful on your shoulders, please just bend the knees, place the feet on the floor, and relieve a little bit of the work and pressure of the shoulders. Flowing up and down. 2 more breaths here. At your own pace. Last round. And this time when we exhale, let's extend both legs long. And we're going to draw the right knee or right foot in towards the left thigh. Turn myself towards the camera for a moment for you here. And once again, rooting both of our sits bones, inhaling both arms up overhead, and exhaling the hands down on either side of the mat or of the leg. Beginning to walk those fingertips forward, bending from the hip joint here, keeping the chest lifted and the back of the neck long. We'll begin to find our way into this forward fold, one-legged forward fold on the other side. Extended toes or the extended leg, toes of the extended leg, pulling back towards our forehead to keep a nice, engaged, strong, extended leg here. When you're ready to begin to soften out over top of this other leg, go right ahead and begin to soften over top of that extended leg. Surrendering into this forward fold. Continuing to grow tall as we inhale. And exhale, softening a little more deeply. When you're ready to inhale next, let's engage both hands and begin to walk them back in towards our seat. And we're going to turn the body over to the side of the room once again. And this time connecting left hand with right ankle, and left elbow comes to the top of the right thigh. As we inhale, the right arm overhead, stretching through the right side body, and taking the gaze either down towards the left knee or up towards the right elbow, or moving between the two. Remembering to lift out of both sides of the rib cage here, rooting both of our sits bones into the mat. Only exploring the side body stretch where it's comfortable for you today. A little bit of discomfort in stretching isn't a bad thing, but if you find it's a pinching or piercing kind of sensation, there's no need to move into those painful kind of sensations. Easier to grow more flexible and stronger slowly than it is to heal quickly. When you're ready to inhale next, let's inhale that top hand over top and extend both legs long. Once again, we're going to flow up and down a few more times, so either choosing the legs bent or the legs extended variation, but this time taking the fingertips to point backwards instead of forwards, just a little bit of a subtle variation. Inhaling as we lift our hips up towards the sky, expanding from the toes up to the chin, and exhaling, dropping the seat down towards the wrists. Going up and down with your rhythm of breath here today. We're going to lift and lower 5 times in total, so 3 more times here, lifting and lowering. Building some strength in our upper arms here. Doing a little work in our triceps. And one more time, up and down. And as we exhale the hands down to the floor here, let's root both of our sits bones, growing tall. Inhale, both hands overhead and folding forward over top of both of our legs, extended here, both toes peeling back towards our forehead here. Once again, exploring that length on our inhalations and beginning to soften a little bit more deeply into our forward fold here. Keeping two long, strong, and engaged legs here. Extending through the heels and peeling the toes back towards your forehead. And one more round of breath, and then let's soften into this forward fold here. Beginning to let go, to relax and release into the back of both of the legs. Releasing the wrists and the ankles. Releasing the head and shoulders to just hang heavy here. And then let's slowly walk our hands back towards our seat and stack the vertebrae up one at a time, slowly rolling up here, one vertebrae at a time. When you find yourself back in a lifted position, let's scooch the seat forward and find our way onto the back body, rolling down one vertebrae at a time, landing on our back body and hugging both knees into the chest. Big breaths into the lower back here, into the hips. Exploring a little bit of movement with your knees as it feels good for you today. Maybe some circles in either direction. Maybe they're the same direction of circles, maybe they're opposite. And when you're ready, let's curl up on one side. I'm going to start on my left side here today. Curling up with the knees moving up from the hips at a 90-degree angle, ankles moving down from the knees at a 90-degree angle, and then extending both arms directly in front of our chest. Let's peel open that top head into a T position and begin to surrender into a passive twist here. And your gaze can either be over towards the extended hand, or it can remain on the original side, whatever's most supportive for your neck and shoulders today. If you find that extended arm is painful in the shoulder at all, let's bend that extended arm at the elbow joint. Just relieve some of that pressure on this twist. And if it feels good to keep it extended, go right ahead. Inhaling into the tight places along our core and exhaling to release. Drawing in any vocalizations that might assist you in releasing some of your tension and holding here, which we've been actively building throughout our practice. This repeated pattern that we visit here of turning things on, engaging things, strengthening things, and then relaxing and releasing them. Really softening into those moments in between the work. If you notice any tension or holding in your belly that's resisting letting go, sometimes it helps to take a hand and just give a little bit of a cue for your belly to relax. Just give it a little gentle rub, encouraging those muscles to soften. Extending the arm once again and just breathing and surrendering. We're going to find our way out the way we came in, that extended arm traveling across to meet on the original side, pausing for a moment, and then slowly rolling onto our back body and over to the other side. I'm going to take a moment to stack everything up on the other side and then peel open into a T position once more. Breathing into the lower back and your belly. Maybe some sighs to help us cue our abdomen and spinal muscles to relax a little bit more deeply. Maybe swallowing to help release the soft palate at the back of your throat. And if your belly is resistant, once again, just giving it a little bit of a gentle rub on this other side to help cue our bellies to relax. Breathing the body and letting your body be breathed. Seeing what we can do to surrender, get out of the way, just soften. Softening into the hips and the knees and your ankles. Softening into your forearms, wrists, elbows. Softening both of your shoulders. And let's wiggle those extended fingers to begin to activate that extended arm and draw that hand back across to the original side. Pausing for a breath into the back body. And then we are going to find our way onto the back body for Shavasana, extending both legs long. If you need a bit of a moment to adjust yourself, maybe to get a blanket, just take as much time as you need to find your way into Shavasana today. A couple of blankets for me today. Taking a moment to wiggle around until everything feels long and loose. Me making a ruckus, grabbing blankets here. And wiggling around until everything feels long and loose, maybe slightly tucking our chin to lengthen the back of our neck. Both feet falling open from the hip joint. Focusing on your breath. Watching as your body expands and contracts all by itself. All day long, day in, day out, our bodies are working hard just to keep us going, and we don't have to get in the way of any of it. Our bodies naturally know how to breathe in and breathe out without us having to do any of the work. All we have to do is get out of the way and let the body be breathed. Scanning through your body, beginning to relax a little bit more deeply. We can draw our attention to the crown of our head, imagining the top of our head growing heavier. Imagining perhaps what the weight of your hair feels like pulling down on the top of your scalp. Softening into your inner ears and forehead. Eyes
floating closed gently or staring at something overhead if they'd like to remain open today. Allowing the eyes to feel heavier in their sockets for a moment, relaxing the eyes more deeply into their sockets. Maybe swallowing to release the tongue away from the roof of the mouth, soften into the back of our throats, relaxing our jaw, muscles alongside our neck, both shoulders melting into the mat, triceps and biceps relaxing, wrists, palms, and fingertips relaxing. Watching the gentle rise and fall of your breath. Both hips relaxing into the mat. Feeling the weight of your femur bones where they connect into your hip sockets. Feeling the thighs growing heavier on either side of your femur bones. Kneecaps growing heavier, softening into the back sides of your knees. Softening into the shins and your calves. Both of your ankles. Relaxing the tops of your feet and the bottoms of your feet. Relaxing all 10 toes. Whole body relaxing. Breathing your body. Riding the incoming and outgoing gentle tide of breath. Noticing where your attention wanders to and inviting it back to the breath time and time again. Watching as your thoughts float in, acknowledging them, recognizing them, and inviting your attention back to the breath time and time again. In a moment now, without disturbing the physical body, let's draw our attention back into the room, beginning to notice the sounds, the temperature, any of the smells. Just allowing our awareness to expand into the room around us. And then turning our attention inward, the stillness of our bodies, to allow ourselves to reflect once again on the intention that you might have set at the beginning of practice for yourself. Honoring that intention and inviting that intention to infuse us as we begin to find our way back into movement today. Beginning to explore some movement in the wrists and ankles and stretching out in whatever way your body is asking for today to wake itself on up. Taking your time to find your way back into movement. Eventually curling up on the side for a couple of breaths. Breathing into the back body, and then using the support of our upper hand to gently return to a seated position whenever you're ready. And let's take a couple of big last breaths together here. Inhaling the arms wide, looking to the fingertips at the top, and exhaling the hands, combing through the space around us, reaching wide, tucking the chin, and then inhaling as we look to the hands once more. Exhaling the hands together into the chest this time, in front of the heart, and then inhaling to Om if you'd like to chant Om with us today. Otherwise, just enjoying the sound. Inhaling together. Om Shanti Om. Peace, peace, peace. May you all go in peace. Namaste. Namaste. Thank you for joining us in practice today. I hope this practice settles well in your body. If there's any aches or pains from today, a hot bath at night or a cold shower in the morning is going to be your best friend. Thanks for joining us today, everybody. Hope to see you soon.